Great, okay. Well, welcome everyone to this Board of Directors regular meeting. The date is Wednesday, it's not April 22nd. It's May 20th.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. It's May 20th, 2026. Let's call this meeting to order and start with a roll call of the Board of Directors.
Sarah Hathcock, Secretary. Lee Thielen, Vice President.
And I'm Erin Hottenstein, present, and John McKay is in the building. We'll be back shortly, and we're expecting Julie at any time. So we do have a quorum, and we will call the meeting to order at 6:01 p.m. Let's go around the room and introduce all staff who are in the room, and then we'll go online. So
Brian Ferens, Executive Director.
I'm Jackie Guerrero, Executive Assistant.
Michael Oliver, Information Systems Specialist.
Juan with ICC. I'm here supporting the meeting.
Hi, Courtney, Chief Administrative Officer.
Dana Turner, VP Client Experience. Jessica Hall, Controller Finance Officer. Allison Williams, Vice President of Strategy and Impact. Misty Manchester, Director of People and Business Operations. Julie Kenny, HR Manager. Marissa Dillon, VP of Marketing and Communications.
great. And do we have any staff online?
Mike Lynch, Director of Infrastructure.
Yeah, pop on stuff.
Ellie Laboon, Legal Counsel.
All right, glad to see everyone is here. It doesn't look like we have any members of the public in the room.
We have two online.
Okay. That's good to know. Usually we don't introduce those who are online, but thanks for letting me know who's in the room. All right, so we'll move on to our conflict of interest statement. Board of Directors, pursuant to the bylaws, please disclose any known or perceived conflicts of interest related to any agenda item. The Health District is committed to preventing the personal interest of the board, employees, and independent contractors from interfering with their duties to the organization and avoiding any unethical, financial, professional, or political gain on the part of such individuals. Does anyone have a conflict of interest to declare?
No.
And none for me. All right. So let's move on to the approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the May 20th meeting agenda as presented?
So moved. I'll second.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously. All right, so let's open the floor to public comment. So I would be directing this to the folks who are online. The Health District of Northern Larimer County Board welcomes and invites comments from the public. Public comments or input are taken only during the time on the agenda listed as public comments. And it is an opportunity for people to express their views. And therefore, the Board of Directors generally does not engage in a back and forth discussion or respond to questions. We ask that you keep your comments to a time limit of 3 minutes for each individual. So if you choose to make comments about any agenda item or about any other topic not on the agenda, please use the following guidelines. Before you begin your comments, please identify yourself. Please clearly spell your name for the record and let us know if you reside in the district. Tell us whether you are addressing an agenda item or another topic. Please address your comments to the Board of Directors rather than individuals. So is there anyone online that is interested in making public comment? If so, please raise your digital Zoom hand to indicate that interest. And I see that Director Field is online and has her hand raised.
And so, you do have permission to talk.
Okay,
I was just raising my hand to let you know I'm here and to let me into the panel.
okay, wonderful. Welcome.
Constantine, sorry to interrupt, because Julie missed the conflict of interest. In the interest of transparency, if you could maybe have her, I can't tell if John's
Yes.
in the room yet,
John.
but maybe
Yeah.
have both of them speak to that component.
Yeah,
For the
thanks,
record.
Ellie. Ellie, yeah, thanks. I was on, but wasn't a panelist yet, so couldn't speak, but I have no conflict of interest.
Okay,
I as well don't have any conflict of interest.
okay, great. Thanks for pointing that out. Okay. And then moving along, has any other member of the public online raised their digital hand? Okay. So seeing as we have no public comment this evening, we will move on our agenda to presentations. And at this point, I would invite Victor Kraft of CLA to share the annual audit presentation.
Well, good evening, everyone. I'm happy to have the opportunity to present the results of the audit for the year ended 2025. My name is Victor Kraft. I'm with CLA, and I'm going to walk you through the audit opinion on the financial statements, go over some key financial highlights, the required communications to the board, as well as some internal control observations that we had. I'll share my screen here soon, but overall it was a clean audit with no material issues identified, and I'll expand on that as we go along. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. This is a digital copy of your financial statements. So one of the first outcomes of the annual audit is the opinion. So you are receiving a unmodified opinion. It's the highest level of assurance that we can issue. It means that the financial statements are presented fairly in all material aspects and respects. What this also means is that the financial statements are reliable, there are no material errors or misstatements in them, and that users of your financials can have confidence in knowing that they are accurate. We also perform our audit in accordance with required auditing standards. Those require us to obtain reasonable but not absolute assurance that the statements are free of material errors. So that's a key item, that we have to obtain reasonable assurance, not absolute. Absolute assurance, that would mean that we have to audit every single invoice and transaction, every dollar that would come in and out of the district. That's not required, and that's outside of the scope of a financial audit. We are also aware, and we were provided a copy, that there was a forensic audit that had happened as well. We think of a forensic audit as kind of a inch wide and a mile deep, where they are looking at specific areas and going into all the details and all of the backup. And then ultimately, they are not issuing an opinion on your financials. So just wanted to outline in a couple of ways how a financial audit is not the same as a forensic audit. We do obtain an understanding of your internal controls and procedures. And if we identify issues, then we have an audit response. But ultimately, our opinion is only over your financials, not over the effectiveness of your controls and procedures. So on the screen here, this is our report. I've highlighted the key areas as far as our opinion and what we are responsible for as the as an annual auditor. Ultimately, management is responsible for the financials and everything that is in them. I'm going to move to some financial highlights. So the next section is called Management's Discussion and Analysis. It's management's a quantitative and a qualitative description of what happened in the year of 25. So I'm going to go to the condensed statement of net position. So overall, your net position is 23.5 million. That increased from the prior year of about 2.2. You can think of this also as equity. Again, it's going to be assets minus any of your obligations and liabilities, less your deferred inflows of resources. And then the table over here outlines of the 23.5 million. Here are the components of them. I'll just outline a couple here. The restricted of 467,000, that is your legal amount that you have to have in accordance with Tabor. And then unrestricted is essentially funds that are available for spending in the next year or the year after that. Get to the next page. This shows, again, your revenues and expenditures. Overall, your revenues were about 15.2 million, and your property taxes and specific ownership make up about 73% of your revenues. Some other large and key items are the revenue over leases, and then your charges for services. That's mainly corresponds to the oral health and the dental operations. Expenditures were about 13 million. At the end, we'll go through the budget to actual schedule, and that'll show your expenses and revenues in comparison to your adopted budget. But overall, a minor increase of about 500,000 from the prior year. So those are the main items that I wanted to highlight in management's discussion and analysis. There's other information in here where management has expanded on expenses and revenues, what hasn't happened, increases from the prior year to the year of 25, as well as discussing about the budget, capital assets, and then there is a look forward to economic factors, and then next year's budget as well. Then we get to what we call your basic financials. Essentially, these are an expanded view of what I had shown you in management's discussion and analysis. So you can see here, this might be small on your end, but at the bottom, the 23.5 is the same that was that I had shown earlier. And this is going to show all of the details of all of your assets, obligations, and so on. The statement of activities will show your expenses and revenues. It shows it in the format, though, of your functions or the programs. So your three functions are in here. You then have your expenditures, and then if they have revenues that correspond, then they are shown here as well. Other revenues that don't correspond to a function or a program are shown here as a general item. We then get to the balance sheet. This is similar to the statement of net position, but it doesn't show any of your long-term assets or obligations. So it doesn't have your capital assets on here. And this is probably similar to what you do a review of every month, as this is gonna match almost exactly what's in your accounting system. And then the statement of revenues and expenditures, again, shows your revenues and expenditures. And this is going to be in a similar format on what you're used to seeing every month. So then outside of that, you get to the notes to the financials. It's going to talk about or give more information about the entity. It'll go through some of the key accounting policies, as well as expand upon some of the numbers that are in your financials. I'll highlight a couple here. So you have a large lease receivable. Mainly it's a lease to the hospital, and so this schedule here shows what you should receive over the course of the lease. So this gives you more information about the lease itself, where as I showed you earlier, it's just going to show a dollar amount. The other table here on note 5 goes over your capital assets. So it'll show here are all of the assets that you have as far as your land, buildings, equipment, and show what you acquired and what was disposed of in this year. And then the last item would be your budget to actual schedule. So this column is going to show your original and final budget. There were no amendments, so that's why it's all in the same column. And then in the middle are the actual amounts. These actual amounts are identical to what was in the financials that I showed earlier. And then in this column, we'll show if you're either over the budget or under. In Colorado, you're required to not overexpend at the fund level. You only have one fund, so you were under budget by about 1.5. So obviously, no issues from a compliance perspective on the spending of the budget. Those were the main items in the financials I wanted to go over. Any questions or comments before I move on? Okay. The next item that I'll go through is the letter to the board. So auditing standards require us to communicate specific items to those who are charged with governance. And that's what this is, and it outlines all of those required items. Some of them that I'll go over. The first is accounting policies. Ultimately, management is responsible for identifying what the accounting policies are and making sure that they're implemented accurately and appropriately. We found that their policies are appropriate and have been consistently applied. Financial statement disclosures are neutral and clear, no evidence of bias from what we had identified. There are estimates in your financials, but none that we identified as high risk or sensitive. And we identified no unusual or complex items or transactions as we went through the audit. As far as the audit process overall, no issues we encountered during the course of our audit that would impact us from having an opinion. And then as far as misstatements, this is where I'm at here in the corrected misstatements. So there were two, we call these immaterial errors that were identified as part of the audit. We brought these to the attention of management and they were fixed. So these errors as described here are not in the financials that I'm showing you. But anytime that we identify immaterial errors, we're required to make you aware of them. And again, they don't exist in your financials as they were fixed while the audit was happening. There were no uncorrected misstatements. That would mean if we identified a misstatement and management said, no, we don't want to fix this, then we would outline what that misstatement is and then include a copy of how that impacts your financials. Again, there were no uncorrected errors or misstatements that we identified. So those were the key items that I wanted to go through in the letter to the board. I'm going to go now to the last item, which is the internal control and management item. So one of the outcomes of the audit, as we had gone over, is the opinion. The second outcome is if there's a deficiency in an internal control, and depending on the severity of the matter, it's going to fall into one of three items. So the most impactful or severe finding would be a material weakness. This would mean that we identified a misstatement that was material to your financials or a pervasive issue that left unfixed could create a material error in your financials. So we did not identify any material weaknesses over the course of our audit. The second type of finding is a significant deficiency. This would be, or they are items that are not material, but are important enough that we want the board to be aware of them. So there was one item, we did a review of the bank reconciliations and bank statements. And so the bank reconciliation is when you compare the transactions that are in the accounting system to what is on the bank statement. And if there are items that don't match up, and you essentially have a schedule of all the differences. It's a key item because it's the main process over cash and making sure that everything that was spent and received has been accounted for accurately. So we look for the bank reconciliation to be prepared by one individual and then have a separate individual do a review and approval of that. When we went through our audit, there was not evidence that would show that showed us that a separate individual had prepared and then a separate individual had reviewed the bank reconciliation. So it's a process or a documentation issue where from our understanding, it was happening. It just wasn't captured either by a physical sign off or in the accounting system. So it's not an indication that the reconciliation was not accurate. We didn't identify any misstatements. Our understanding is that the accounting system is supposed to capture who prepared and who reviewed it, but that function is not operating as it should. So our perspective is to work to fix that feature in the accounting system, or to capture the documentation in a physical way, either having a physical sign off or having a sign off on a PDF or whatever it may be. So that was the only item that we identified that falls into that bracket. The next section, these are really other internal control items that we identified, where we discussed these with management as opportunities for improvement. The first item that explains more in detail those two immaterial errors that we identified. Again, these were corrected while the audit was happening and are not errors in your financials. The second item has to do with IT controls. We identified opportunities to have strengthen password requirements, to implement a formal user access review, ensure that password policies are enforced across all of the systems, and then to develop a formal IT security policy. And these are really just best ways to reduce the cyber security risks that exist. But overall, those were the two, again, kind of other items that we had identified. So with that said, those were the items that I wanted to go through. Again, as a recap, you received a unmodified or a clean opinion, and we really appreciate all the efforts of management and staff throughout the course of the audit, and I'd be happy to answer any questions at this point too.
I'd say congratulations on a clean audit.
Yeah.
Yeah, well done.
I agree. Any other questions or comments from the board?
I guess I just have a quick question just for clarification. The last two things that he was outlining as far as significant findings, the NetSuite capturing, has a plan been made on how we're going to work through that?
Not yet. As soon as I reviewed the audit with Julie and Victor, I reached out to Jessica and Courtney just to see what the functionality options are in NetSuite. That seemed like a function we could turn on, but I don't know if you have more.
Yeah, when I looked into it, because originally we were gonna start just capturing it outside of NetSuite. Because how it came up was that we thought it was something that NetSuite was capturing until we tried to print the reports and there was no username next to who did it. So they do have the functionality to have the reconciliation approval directly in NetSuite, but it's an add-on module that for some reason they never mentioned to us. Try to, sell everything else. Not that one. So I reached out to our customer support to get a demo to get that in process.
Wonderful. Great, thanks.
Thanks. Other questions or comments from the board? All right, well, thank you, Mr. Crop, for that presentation. And yes, we're quite pleased to have an unmodified opinion.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
You too. So next we have a presentation from communications, and we'll be hearing from Marissa Dillon.
Okay. That's about reading. So, tonight I wanted to speak a little bit about where we've been, where we are, and where we're going. I'm just going to make this at the same time. Okay, so recapping the refresh. The reason that we came up with a new landmark, and a whole rebrand in general is because we need to reflect who we are today, as opposed to who we were yesterday, but also who we will be tomorrow. It represents that there's links between neighbors, partners, community members, and it suggests that it's all one community and that no one entity owns the answers to public health challenges. So one clear brand, this was probably my first day, if not during my interview process, where we talked about needing one clear brand and not having sub-brands. Sub-brands take away from the cohesive look that are recognizable and memorable. People don't understand sub-brands because in general, as much as we care how we're set up and organized, people on the outside don't care so much. They want to know, how can you help me? So our request was for one recognizable brand mark and comprehensive guidelines. And this is something I've mentioned before too. It's outside in messaging. And this is something that's absolutely critical in an attention economy. It's very crowded out there in the media space, and people, they're not going to hear you in that crowded space unless you're speaking to what their needs are instead of the internal things that you want to share. So we are on to brand activation, thanks largely in part to our intrepid graphic designer. His name is Vance Sherwood, and he's made it so that we could do, we can implement a lot of different ideas in a relatively short amount of time. So you may have seen the front desk lobby logos at the desks, hanging ribbon graphics at 120 and 202. We've got utility boxes in progress. The idea is that we're going to paint them. We have an artist named China Maple, and she's going to paint them with an inclusivity theme. Who knew there were so many city regulations that you had to get past for a utility box, but it turns out there are. We have weaseled our way in a little bit early, and so I think in the next few weeks we'll be able to start painting. I think that'll add a lot. And we've got stairwell graphics. Sarah, I think you mentioned the embedded in the community. There's one right behind Sarah, actually. We've got 26 of these photos that Vance has taken. And what he's done is he's taken our icon mark and actually literally embedded them in the community. So it's showing that we, in a subtle way, that the health district is part of the area and the neighborhoods that we see every day. We also have printed combined core pieces and program specific pieces. I can show you the hard copies in just a moment. And as I understand it, they're a little bit better than the skating ring one pager that you saw in the skating ring factory from so long ago. Like 2018 or something, yeah, so.
Does that mean the next time we go skating, we should look for it?
Yeah, I guess so, yeah.
I didn't take it down.
We should have.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Oh, so that's recognizable, that's great. So here are some of the internal changes that we've made. Here's the embedded in the community, the desk logo, the ribbon in the top left corner. You've got our logo and the stairwells more embedded in the community, and we'll continue doing some other little touches. And there's the utility box. That's just kind of an option of something that we might do. But like I said, it's going to be a few weeks before we determine that. Let's see. There's just another one of that. And then we also have, these were out at the open house recently. The one I like the best is So it's this one, and it's basically, it looks like one piece. And it represents one organization, but when you pull it out, you've got talking about the client campus, then you've got the parts of the whole. So you've got behavioral, you've got dental, you've got Learner Health Connect, and all of these things, kind of a physical representation of the whole. See? And then the next one, we did program specific brochures. And what I like about this one is that, there's an inspirational, when you first pull this part out, there's kind of an inspirational message that makes the why understandable. So I can read just the first part of this, that you carry more than what's visible, whether it's stress, pressure, or problems you don't have the words to explain. When mental health support is easy to access, it gives you a place to slow down and feel understood. It's the difference between struggling in silence and finding real relief and hope. And then we go in to talk about mental health connections. But the reason we have statements like this for each of the program pieces is because we don't want to just talk about what we do. We want to talk about what you deserve. And so then when you fold these out on the inside, it talks about services on kind of a higher level, and then it lists the actual services that we have. And so again, that just slides right back in as well. And then, you know, on a couple of the back ones, we talk about transportation to get to appointments and different languages to offer service. Next up, we have the storyline wall. It's over here. This went up a few weeks ago. And it's much more than a historical timeline. It shows our evolution in tandem with how the community evolved over time. And what I like about it is that it doesn't shy away from challenges, whether it's been community challenges or challenges that we've had, but it's also future forward because it continues to show that we're vigilant as the community evolves, we evolve. And the plan is to have something similar, probably along the back wall there, but we'd like to have that translated into Spanish. We also need the cultural buy-in. So we have branding plus culture here, and it includes embedding our brand into the culture of our goals. So this includes our new intranet right here. So we used to have a newsletter. It's kind of a compilation of all the things, not a lot of organization to it. And this isn't completely finished yet, but this is the direction that we're going. So we have the resources, we have a section for news, things that you need to know. And then one important thing here is that we have spotlights and shout outs. So we have people sending in every week kudos basically for something a peer has done that's made a difference. And we actually have, these just came in, but we have quick kudos notepads that will pass out. This is actually a product of the Culture and Action of the CIA committee. And so basically you just rip one of these off, you give these to the person that has made a difference. It's the recipient, what they did and why it mattered. And then we have our 4 values, cultural values down here: accountable, inclusive, supportive, and impactful. And so these are just nice reminders of nice tangible reminders you can put on your desk that gratitude is something that we want to practice. And then the one in the center there, that's a little bit more intimate between team members. It's called an About Me user guide. And you've got your name and your team, but it asks different questions. It says, I work best when I feel stressed or overwhelmed when. The best way to raise a concern with me is. And so we plan to have all staff and all supervisors complete this, share them amongst the team members. And that way we know how to approach one another the best way so we get the best results based on who we all are. Right, so that's internal. Now external. So as far as I know, the Caring More campaign is the first community campaign that we've done at the health district. And it's a problem first campaign. That's the style that we did this with. And the idea is that you have an image of the bullets, like the kids here. And he's got his collaborated backpack. Because he's carrying his math book and his science book. He's also carrying the pressure to fit in, conflict at home, bullying, and the kinds of things that we can help with. And we have these specifically kind of disproportionately shown around schools because we want to connect the PSD idea with kayaking connections. Next. We're breaking through the noise by doing this problem first messages. Anybody can go out there and say, this is why we're great. But it doesn't really speak to or anticipate the needs of all of the people out there who are struggling right now. So it kind of is the best way from point A to point B because it immediately tells you this message applies to me. And I think we all know that emotion builds trust. We're programmed to find emotion compelling. And when we feel understood, we're more likely to trust the people who are trying to help us. And I've said this before, but we forget 80% of what we learn every day. So how do we stay in that 20% where people remember us? And that's through emotion. That's just how we're kind of programmed to think. I remember back when I was doing a lot of development fundraising work, and the saying back then was, nobody writes a check to statistics. Nobody writes a check anymore anyway, but they definitely don't write it to numbers and to a lack of emotion. There we go. Okay, and so then when we acknowledge the lived experiences and the burdens that people experience, they implicitly understand that we are not judging them. We know how to deal with them. We know how to talk to them. We know how to help them. And that's where the trust comes from. So hopefully you've seen some of these advertisements around the community. We've got them a lot of different media placements that, let's see, I'll show you here. We've got them on bus stops. And the great thing is I think there are tons of these where we've got them in Spanish and in English. You've got them, bus stops. We've got them on billboards. And I think we're going to continue to grow the idea of having these in multiple languages, at least Spanish more often. We also have these in digital billboards that are a little bit more noticeable in high commute areas. So you can see these images on the front and the back as you're coming and going. We also have one that's a digital pillar right outside the university. And we did that because there are so many students, you wouldn't think this, but there are so many students who are food insecure and they're trying to figure out, do I spend the money on food? Do I spend the money on books? So healthcare kind of goes by the wayside unless they have an option to get services where they can afford it or maybe even get them free. So the numbers, we've got right now 20 billboards, 20 benches, 42 bus shelters with 10 in both English and Spanish. We have 88 ads in bus interiors. We've got 5 supermarkets, 9 issues a year of the PSD newsletter, and we've got 5 full-page, full-bleed Rocky Mountain parent ads in 5 issues a year. So we're definitely looking at the ROI information, seeing where things are succeeding and seeing where we may have opportunities that don't exactly exist on the list. Our initial results are pretty good. we, typically in the first 6 to 8 weeks, you don't really see any growth, but we've actually seen, just in the first week, we saw 80 to 100 organic searches per day of the health district. And so that's not a search of mental health connections or just mental health, for example. That is healthdistrict.org, which we typically don't see. So what's next? We have our new website that will be up at the end of Q2. There's more modernizing that we're going to be doing, but I think the biggest thing you'll see here is that we'll be able to, with a tool called Matomo, it's an analyzing tool, we will be able to see where people are coming in and where they're dropping off. And I think that's kind of hard to do with our current website because there's so many avenues. But what we've done here is we've got the 3 core services. We've got dental, behavioral, and Larimer Health. And so we have that right up top under the hero so that people know exactly, this is my need, this is the journey that I go on. We've got next up, and remember, this is a living document, but this is the site map of where we want to focus at first. So we've got our 4 services, we've got the about us. A lot is taken away because it was kind of cluttering things up and keeping people away from the good information that they needed. You'll notice right here that the board is very much prominent, scheduled, archived. You'll have your pictures up there. It'll be great. So we just have to remember that with the site map, even though it is dynamic, what people need is much more important than what we feel we need internally. So it's just, there's going to be a lot of conversations and figuring out how we do that. Okay, correcting outdated information. If you don't like what's being said, change the conversation. This is a Don Draper original. I am on my 4th rewatch of Mad Men, and that's why this is popping up. But it's a good quote, because it effectively means that we're not correcting information. We're fading out the old information and we're replacing it with correct information. So if there's some information out there saying that our mental health services are going away or kayak no longer exists, we're not going to correct that. We are going to replace that and build a growth narrative. And that helps people understand the trust. Because people trust a growth narrative and they trust a rebrand when it comes along with it. It shows that we're forward thinking. And so what's next? We have a lot of things that are next, but here are just a few of the things. We have, we've just hired a very engaging digital media specialist. I think he will entertain everyone. He's very creative. Really look forward to him joining, but he'll help us with social creativity. He'll help us with Google ads, geo-targeted ads, which we've actually already started hitting pretty hard in the last few weeks. And we also want to increase ethical storytelling, and then we'll continue to build out the brand. So that's where we are now. Does anybody have any questions?
First of all, it's wonderful. You're doing a great job. It's very impressive. My question is more probably to Brian. Is there a danger of our marketing building demand for which we cannot provide the services?
Yeah, I mean, sure, if we get out front and we're marketing our services over our capacity before we're ready to sort of increase our volumes. I think the timing of sort of the work that Marissa and her team have done from when I came in has worked well. It seems like it's been a little bit of more of a slow burn. We're certainly getting more marketing out there in the community, more visible. But certainly without the digital media specialist and some of the more targeted ads, we haven't really sort of hit the gas pedal on those yet, because we are in some assessment mode with certainly our behavioral health services, I don't think, and you can help me out, or Dana can help me out. I don't think we've seen a drastic increase in demand since we started putting these things out in terms of outreach for behavioral health services or with our dental services. But is that what you're seeing? Okay. Yeah.
I think part of the reason for that is, one, we're at the beginning. And two, I think that when you map a journey for a client or a patient, it's great that they're paying attention to our ad. They click the QR code, they get to our website, and then, you know, where do I go? There's so much information. Some of this says it's from 2014, where, you know, do I make the phone call? Where can I just find this online? I do hope that once we have the new website and things are more organized, the advertising and the marketing will kind of meet up with the website and hopefully boost numbers over time. Again, I don't think it's going to be, you know, like this. I think it's going to take a little bit of time.
But I mean, it's a great point and something that we need to watch out for. You know, I will say when I started and, you know, we had a open house event that was being planned, I was a little concerned, like, ooh, is that gonna, you know, like, here we are, you know, come find out about us and learn more about us. And we've got some services that are in transition. And I think, you know, and we'll talk about the open house event here in a little bit, but I think, you know, the turnout of that, there's still more work to be done and still more progress to be made in terms of getting our name out to the community. So I think we're in good shape in terms of the timing of that, but it's definitely something for us to.
Well, I was wondering too
consider.
about how many vacancies you still have to fill
Yeah.
in your service area.
Yeah, we've got quite a few positions that we still need to sort of ramp up until we're ready to, increase our capacity and serve a higher volume. So.
Thank you.
Overall, I like it. I would be just a point of caution. The way that you're signifying identity is a little bit concerning. Well, when I see, I mean, if we're going to talk about identity, we're going to talk about it bluntly. I see a young white child that is carrying more than he should. But then if you don't read the context, you see a brown family that has a lot of bills to pay. And so I think that when we're using identity, how are we really going to be perpetuating some of the stereotypes that are magnified in our society right now? And I understand the concept that people say they want to be seen within that, but how do they want to be seen? And so I wonder through this, have we done any focus groups about how people want to be seen? We talk about reaching out and working with our different communities that we serve. We certainly have access, how we ask them. So that's some of the stuff that I would ask us to consider when we're thinking about our brand and what that actually means for us about what we're elevating and also perpetuating.
Yeah, I think those are very good points. One, we do have 3 focus groups that we will have completed by the end of the year. And I think that part of our style guide and our brand guide that I mentioned at the end of building out is that we do want to have a clear example of who we should use in a particular way so that we have a little bit more to go on. But I do see your point. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I guess while I can respect that, I still see symbolism out there right now that you just articulated is out that uses this visualization. So I think that there is just a point of caution if we're going to move forward with other visualization and identity. We have to think about what that intersection looks like and what we're inadvertently and unintentionally telling our community.
Right. Well, you know, even if it is an invert, it's still the impact that matters.
Sure,
So.
I appreciate that. Yeah, but overall, I really like it. I have a little bit of like, okay, I don't know what the symbol means yet because it's not branded with any of our colors. But other than that, like I love the wall. You know, I see Betty's mural up there that she worked really, really hard to get. So I'm hoping that we can give her a little bit of a nod in that because she, I mean, worked really hard for that mural. I can't tell you how many phone calls and emails we probably all got trying to fundraise for that. So I love that. And I think is that thing hanging out in front?
Which,
The swirly piece, is that?
The swirly piece?
Yeah,
yes.
okay.
It's, let's see. I have to go back. There's one in,
dental.
Is it in dental?
it's in both.
Okay,
Okay, I
yeah.
didn't look up.
I really like
Kids
it.
are
That
really
kind of
good.
stuff gets me every single time.
Oh.
So,
Yeah, there's one in dental and there's also, one in 120.
yeah,
Let's take a look on your way out.
yeah. As I said, overall, really good. The, you know,
Yeah.
the only point of caution.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Anybody else?
I just wanted to say that I really appreciate trying to create a visual association with the health district and also tie it to what we do in a lens that resonates with people, because I think because we have kind of these, dental, behavioral health, Learn Health Connect, they're all very unique and very different. So trying to, with the repetition of this, of our symbol and branding, and I've seen things around town. It's been a lot of fun to pass the bus stops and the benches and things of that sort. I've seen us more present visually. And as the symbol starts to be reinforced with our services, and then the website being much more streamlined, with when you open it up and you see dental behavioral health, I think that is going to really help people start to define us in the community in really important ways. Not that doesn't have room to evolve and change as we evolve as the health district, but it starts to really create, I think, a foundation of associations of who we are and how we can serve
And
in
that
the
make you
community
grow too.
and grow. Yeah. So I really love the photos around. I think there is something to feel embedded in the community and having visuals of places that we pass all the time in our own town on the walls of where we work with our symbol. It just feels good.
Yeah, I think it does. I think
Yeah.
we get 26 between the two buildings, so
Yeah.
you can't miss it.
Yeah.
And I like the concept of the flyer or the.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Those are
really good.
beautiful.
That's very well done.
Very
Yeah,
creative.
and telling a story. I mean, how our story and how we hold it really matters. It does, how we share it. So thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Anyone else, or can I end on a high note?
This is Julie. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Julie.
Oh, thanks. I just wanted to let you know I was driving the whole time, so I didn't get to see the visuals. So I very much look forward to watching the replay of this portion, because everything that I heard sounds amazing. So I can't wait to actually see it.
Great, thanks, Julie. And I can send you the presentation as well.
That would be great. Thanks.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Marissa.
Great job.
All right, so moving on to Misty Manchester and Julie Kenny with the employee state interviews and employee engagement survey.
Let's.
Well, hello, and thank you for the opportunity. I'm going to be sharing some key themes from our state interviews, which were conducted January 12th through the 23rd of this year. State interviews are a strategic tool used to help us understand our employees' satisfaction and commitment to our organization. So our supervisors scheduled 30-minute one-on-one, semi-structured and meetings with their staff, and HR provided 5 questions. To support our managers, we did give them a presentation, just kind of basically what is a state interview, how to conduct one, and then we also communicated in advance with staff so they knew the format and what to expect. There will be state interviews conducted in January of 2027. So using the content data
HR identified some key themes related to our employees' satisfaction, as well as some opportunities for continued engagement and improvement. First question, why do you stay at the health district? Overwhelmingly, it's the mission. It's the work, the mission, the impact on our community, the relationships that people have formed here at the health district, the opportunities for professional development, compensation, and benefits. Staff express that they appreciate that we are not driven primarily by bottom line or quotas. It's the work that they're passionate about. Second, what you want to learn. They expressed they would like to learn more about leadership, how we operate as an organization, structure, decision-making, and how data drives the strategy. Inclusivity and support. Staff would like to understand the rationale for some of the changes. Be given consideration and have a voice if there's decisions that are made that affect their or impact their work. Visible leadership, open and honest dialogue, and consistent expectations for the entire organization. They express that they feel unsupported when there are communication gaps around transitions and inconsistent expectations and accountability across the organization. The lack of structure, so there's a need for some policies and procedures to help staff really kind of identify. And then when there is a disconnect with leadership, how supervisors can help. Staff express that one-on-one consistent meetings with open feedback, transparency in decision-making, balanced workload, and clear growth and development opportunities really help them feel supported. So I know we have a time constraint, so just some key takeaways. Staff recognize and appreciate the improvements that the health district has made. They wish to grow and develop and build connections with their coworkers. Have consistent expectations applied across all programs. The regular and transparent communication, as well as having that voice and the need for the clear policies and procedures. These themes were also consistent with the employee engagement survey, which was conducted in April. Steve will share some more information on that. Thank you.
All right, good evening. So as with any engagement survey that you do, whether it's with community partners, as Marissa was sharing, and with employees, finding out what resonates with them and what's important to them and what they are needing as individuals is super important. So it was really, I think, a really nice segue to hear what Marissa shared and what we're going to share with you. So the engagement survey highlights our strengths as well as highlights the areas that we need to improve on. The survey was open for 11 days and there were several reminders to staff. Hey, we really want to hear from you. This is really critical and valuable feedback. So please complete this survey. So I'm pleased to say that our response rate increased from last year. 80% of our employees participated. The national average is 70 to 80%. And so we're at the top end of that national average. And so really happy about that. Hopefully next year we will have 100%. So that's our goal, to get to every single employee stating their voice and being heard. So the key themes that resonated throughout, and in your packets, you have a full presentation so that you can really delve into the information and see more. But like Julie said, in the interest of time, just highlight a few things. The first item is employees reported positive progress in leadership, transparency, and communication, which fosters obviously a more collaborative culture, and so very important to staff. They did share with us that there's still a need for consistency to rebuild full trust in leadership and the organization. Second item is employees remain deeply connected to the mission, and especially around community impact, access to care, health equity. So love it that we have staff that are working here to support the work that we're doing, because it's invaluable to our community members. The third item is inconsistent communication of strategy across teams, which create gaps in alignment. And so that was a key theme that we saw in the survey, which just means we need to make stronger, more practical communication as a key opportunity to engage our staff. Employees want stronger leadership and accountability. Item number 4, clearer expectations and better manager support, improving systems, staffing, and balancing workload in order to reduce burnout. So there were several significant improvements from 2025 to 2026. An increase in transparency, more consistent updates, greater leadership engagement, a stronger sense of direction, and progress towards a cohesive culture. So those are all really exciting improvements. Job satisfaction, on the next slide. This graph shows that employees are generally satisfied with their roles, but workload management and resources continues to be an area that we can improve. The work environment, employees feel safe, which is super important, and their work is conducive to productivity. They did indicate that there can be improvements to workplace culture and supporting a healthy work-life balance. Communication, clear and consistent communication have increased from last year. So employees also shared with us that they feel that there was an increase in feeling valued by management. So, and again, these slides are all there for you, as well as a digital copy of the slides so that you can really delve in. Continuing on with communication, employees also shared that they felt an increase in feeling comfortable sharing their concerns with leadership, which is contributes to psychological safety. So anytime that staff members can go to leadership and say, hey, here's a concern I have, is super important. And I was very encouraged to hear that. Management and leadership. Employees expressed an increase in professional development opportunities, and they also expressed that there's a significant increase in trust in the senior leadership team and feeling supported with their managers and manager feedback, which relates to the one-on-ones that are happening consistently. So super valuable for our staff and for us as leaders, and for me with my boss, to have that one-on-one time to really open up those lines of communication. So professional growth, employees reported feeling an increase in career support and feeling that they are valued contributors to the health district. Team dynamics, the survey results indicated a decline in team dynamics. So fewer employees report feeling strong collaboration with their teams, feeling like effective teamwork toward goals was not happening as much as it had been before, and don't feel valued by their coworkers. And so we've got some work to do in that area. And I think, Marissa, the CIA's little sheets is gonna do a lot to support that and impact that. So thank you for that. All right, organizational alignment. There was an increase in organizational alignment for staff. Especially important to note is that there was an increase in the organization acting with integrity and ethics in our staff members' eyes. So very encouraging. Engagement or retention, there's a significant increase from last year to this year in employees feeling proud to work for the health district. So that leads to employees feeling motivated to stay and continue doing the work and staying with the health district on into the future. So very excited about that. We've got really great staff.
Big
They're
difference,
amazing.
big difference.
Right. So here are a few questions that we want to highlight that we did ask staff. How do the current strategic plan priorities influence your work and your ability to make a difference in the community? And the staff shared, while the strategic plan is valued and provides meaningful direction, its full impact depends on consistent organization-wide integration, stronger communication, and improved operational clarity and infrastructure that will help ensure that staff can align their work and with our organizational priorities. So next question, what aspects feel most relevant or least relevant to the work you do each day? Employees feel most connected to the strategic plan when it directly supports client care, access, and health equity. But there is an inconsistency in understanding across staff about how the full strategy translates into operational reality. So there is a need to strengthen communication and make system level priorities more tangible to help impact this. Next question, what does success look like for your role over the next 3 to 5 years? As mentioned previously, this theme continued. Employees want to grow professionally and make a meaningful impact with the community that we serve. They emphasized a strong need for strong internal systems, transparent governance, modernized technology, thoughtful staffing, and effective leadership. So to Julie's point about clear policies and procedures, that will help. And there's a lot of work being done on that front by every team. What is the organization doing well? Excited to share this. Overall, the health district is seen as moving forward in a positive direction by strengthening leadership communication, reinforcing the mission, and the community impact that we're having, and then investing in both the culture and employees. So again, nod to the CIA and the work that's happening there. This is helping rebuild trust with our staff and as well as strengthening our stability as an organization. What can the organization do to improve? So much like the slide regarding what do people see for success over the next 3 to 5 years, overall, employees are calling for stronger communication and inclusion, more effective and accountable leadership, and improved operational systems and staffing, which will create more efficiency. They'll feel supported and aligned. And I'm out of time, but I just have a little bit left. Just a couple more minutes. Okay, yeah, thank you. All right. So we asked them if there was anything else they would like to share. Overall, employees are encouraged by recent improvements, and they do remain committed to our mission. Addressing leadership transparency, consistency, workplace culture, organizational alignment will be essential to building trust and allowing us to maximize impact moving forward. One last slide. Next steps. So we will continue, we'll have a regular cadence of culture improvement initiatives. So we will do the employee engagement survey every spring. We'll do annual reviews in July. We started annual reviews last year in August, so the regular cadence will be mid-year in July. And then we will conduct a pulse survey in October, and we'll do that in October every year going forward. And we will continue doing state interviews as Julie shared. So what questions can I or we answer for all of you?
First of all, this is wonderful to see the improvements. They're
Yes.
very clear. And I thank all of you, Brian, particularly in the senior management, for that improvement. That's really wonderful. What is the pulse survey?
Question.
It's a dipstick measure of,
Yes.
it's like a mini engagement survey. It gives a tone and culture and climate.
A quick
It's
one?
Shorter in length, yes.
It's quick.
Yeah,
It's quicker. Yes. So it's a pulse. It's that.
it's a pulse to the culture.
So like the engagement survey had like 46 questions. The
Yeah.
pulse survey will not have that many.
Yeah.
The pulse survey will be in between, like, probably not 5 questions, but maybe 7 to 10.
It's just a check-in, more of a check-in.
Focusing on,
See things are changing.
Yes.
focusing on our challenges. so
Okay,
it'll directly
relate to
understand
those.
about where we,
Okay.
where our improvements were. Improving.
Thank you very much.
Yes. Yeah, good question.
I'm also excited to see the strongly disagrees mostly going way
Yes.
down, and the light blue, which is the agree, and the darker blue strongly agree going up. That tells me that we're headed in the right direction. And some of those, were significant jumps. I'd be curious to hear more about, because we work on the strategy up here,
Right.
like your all ideas about how to make that more tangible for staff, because that really helps connect even more strongly to the mission when you know that what you're doing is helping to meet a certain strategy.
And I think on one level, employees understand it. But I think it's that practical application, like they know that they're making an impact with the people that we are serving. And the fact that we're serving the community, but I think it's just that, like, creating a line so that it is all aligned, so that they feel like, okay, this means this that I'm doing. So I think it's more of that explanation of what each thing means in relation to the work.
Yeah, I think there's, obviously we have our work plans that we're gonna be updating for 2027 and have a whole process to be able to do that with staff engagement. And so staff feel connected to the work plans and those specific objectives and tasks, but then, I'm not sure that as an organization, we do the best job of then connecting back the results of that work back with staff and sort of closing the loop with them, saying like, again, this work plan objective, we did this and we did that with all of this work that you just did, you and your teams, and thanking them for that and sort of recognizing, them for that work and kind of helping connect the dots for them. Because I think what we kind of hear and have heard is, I know there's a strategic plan, I know I have my work plan, but then I just go do the work to try and serve clients and help, serve the community. And it's our job to help sort of connect those dots better for staff. And I think some of our cultural values work that we're doing, we can find ways to do that better. And then with our work plan process for 2027, I think we can add some elements in there that is not so tactical connected to work plans, but actually where they see themselves in what they're producing, connect back to the work plan, strategic plan. So.
Can I also add? Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, one thing that I think is missing here because of timing is that the first quarter of work plans ended right around the time that the survey went out. And folks are then coming back. And I know that over the past 2 weeks, Dana's team has been going to have conversations of what progress was made towards the work plan to connect it. So some of the things that have happened towards that connection wasn't in the time frame of capturing it here. So
I would say too, also that this is the first time we've had a strategic plan that's lasted for more than 1 year. And so for folks to have a 3-year plan, will help because it just, there's longer time for them to make that connection to the work they're doing. With your action.
Yeah. Well, and if it's any comfort to them, like having the board, you know, in our packet saying this is tied to this strategy or that strategy, I mean, that helps us connect the dots.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's happening at all levels, I hope.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like you guys have done an excellent job when referring to specific projects underway, tying it immediately into the strategic plan. And I'm just curious with the work plan, how that, if that continues, if that connection continues downwards to each team, and if in are there metrics, little, you know, metrics within the work plans that you can celebrate. I'm just curious, and because that might be a way to, you know, take it all the way down to what is effectively taking place and being able to celebrate metric. Right?
Yeah.
In some form or fashion, measurable outcomes that you're shooting for with each work plan.
Yeah, for sure. There's definitely opportunity to do
Yeah.
that. And I think working with we're kind of doing some reforming with our different leadership spaces and focusing on how best to make those more functional. Not just for the leaders and supervisors and peers, but also to help them translate some of these things back down to their teams. So we're definitely prioritizing some of that work because I think, you know, if, you know, one manager is really good about connecting those dots of like the granular back up to the overarching goal of the strategic plan, but then others maybe, you know, aren't connecting those dots, and we've got to get more consistent with that and do some more upskilling, you know, with our leaders to kind of help see what that vision looks like and how does that play out. So, but there's definitely opportunities to
Yeah.
do that.
Where it doesn't add ideally not adding a whole other workload of trying to, you know, draw those connections, but finding ways to just organically make that part of the cadence when with the work plan to have kind of ways to celebrate accomplishments. And it's wonderful. I really appreciate the cadence of, and I'm assuming that staff know that this is going to be the cadence for these various surveys and interviews.
We will be sharing this presentation with them on Friday at our town hall. So that's something that we did last year when we had the engagement survey results. It was shared with staff after we shared it with you all, because it's important for them to hear what they've shared with us, what we've pulled out as the key themes, as the takeaways. And so that also increases that communication. So,
and having that stability of knowing that this is going to be the pattern each year gives reassurance that there's the constant conversation.
So I do have several questions. First, happy International HR Professionals Day. So I'm sure Brian celebrated you profoundly today. So, but is there a platform that you're using, or is this SurveyMonkey, or what are we using?
I'd like to give credit to Alexa Koretsky. She's our HR generalist. She created the survey last year in Microsoft Forms. And because we wanted to see what the difference was from last year to this year and where we increased and where we've made progress, we kept the same format. So we're not currently using something different than Microsoft Forms, but that is something we hope to do going forward.
Yeah, because the one thing, a response rate is just an indicator of how many people participated. It actually doesn't give you an engagement score. And that engagement score is what that signifies is the correlation between how people feel about their individual work, their relationship to their team, and then to the organization. And so that engagement score is actually what should drive engagement. And so response rate's great, and you have a great response rate. And I'd be really curious to be able to get to a sophistication of understanding engagement and looking at that engagement score.
Agreed.
So I think that that's something, but you're going to need a platform for that. You're not going to, unless you have some, you know, somebody that can really figure out the metrics and the data related to that. So we use Quantum, but Pressgany, you're very familiar with that, I'm sure. So I would say that those are a platform that you would be able to utilize that I think would be really good to try to understand. Particularly then you can be able to get all the comments and you're able to sort them and slice and dice, and you're able to look at your analytics so differently then. And I think what I'm hoping to see at some point is you said we listened, response cadence of really understanding. You can solicit feedback, but if you're not doing anything with it and demonstrating that, I think that's something we really need to understand differently. Like based on what people are saying, these are the things that we're actually doing. And responding to the comments and the results of the survey. And I guess I also am wondering, a poll survey, my understanding is that poll surveys actually take place more than once a year. Is that some, industry average is about quarterly. And I know for us, we got survey fatigue. And so I'm super impressed with your 80% mark, because my goodness, that's hard to get to. But I'm wondering if maybe at least you have 2 pulses throughout the year. And I would like to see if maybe a full engagement survey happened before budgeting time. So some of the things that staff are saying, we're actually able to incorporate into our budget priorities, so that the things that staff are, what's meaningful to staff, we can prioritize within our budget next year cycle.
I'd like to speak to that specifically.
Mhm.
So that is why we're doing it in the spring, so that can be decisions for leadership. Like, here's what we heard from staff, because then we start the budgeting process in August. So if we do it closer to budgeting, we won't have all the data that we need to be able to enact
Yeah.
or act on things that would be budgetary considerations.
Okay.
So absolutely, I agree with you. And that is why we picked spring.
Okay,
So that
that's
we can
great.
really, because now is when we're starting to have those conversations, and it'll be part of our work plan going forward as well. Each department and program, so.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, I think
Thank
it's great feedback. I'll be curious to hear from you, Brian, at some point, like what are some of the things that you see in your experience versus what you're seeing in the survey, and how to kind of connect some of those things.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, we're gonna be turning some of these, the responses we get and sort of the themes into goals that we have that we're working towards, and strategies under each one, so that it is actionable, and we can clearly tie that back to staff and show them what we're working on.
and I certainly can't speak for the board, but I don't care if you show staff before you show us. I would actually prefer that you show staff as quickly as possible. And you don't need to wait for me as a board member to show me results before you get to show the people that spoke.
Yeah, we appreciate
Agreed.
that.
Yeah, we do appreciate that. Our cadence is we have a board meeting and then we have a town hall.
Yeah.
And so I think that's why we were,
Same
We
way.
didn't withhold
Okay.
in a all staff
Wasn't a big
space for
secret.
the board meeting,
Right.
but
Yeah.
we just happened to have a town hall on Friday, so the time
Perfect.
worked out.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, but thank you.
And-
I appreciate it. And thanks for the recommendations on quantum, and what was the other?
Press Ganey is,
Katie. Okay.
it's, it's pricey. So, yeah.
Yeah. Thank
I
you.
have one more little thing, sorry, if that's okay. How frequent are the town meetings, town halls? Quarterly, okay, awesome. And I just wanted to, one more little thing, that's awesome. The town halls, I love that you guys also have a regular cadence for that. And just so that the communication from, I just want us to see ourselves as a cohesive unit, and all speaking the same language. And we went through the strategic plan and crafted it and refined it for this year prior to you coming on. So I just one of the reasons we took a lot of the more detail, we tried to make it larger and broader, and in a way more, I don't want to use the word vague, because we weren't trying to be vague, but we were trying to be encompassing to give more, because the previous one felt too tight,
Right.
just in summary. And that was feedback we got, that it was hard to sometimes work towards the goals because it was just the definitions were too tight. So we intentionally drew back the strategic plan and its verbiage to give more room for growth, for innovation and growth, and the teams working within the vocabulary, on the page. So I just want to make sure that as that is shared, as people give feedback on strategic plan, that we kind of all can reverberate the reasoning behind the way in which we decided to craft it as a board, so that there's room for movement and, okay, so full, yeah.
Well, and I will share their feedback from staff I've talked to about it, that made a huge difference.
Okay.
Because it was really It was a lot
Yeah.
before.
Mhm.
And so that allows staff to be able to break it down a little bit easier.
Great. Okay.
So thank you
Good.
for
I'm
that
glad
work,
that that's
because that was very important. So
wonderful.
And knowing that you don't use a platform, whoever put all that together, kudos to them. That's a lot.
Alexa,
That's
so
a
if you
big-
see her,
Yeah.
please just give her a pat on the back.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, so,
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thanks so much.
You bet.
Alrighty. So now we're moving on to the consent agenda. So on the consent agenda, we have the approval of draft meeting minutes from April 22nd, 2026, the regular meeting. Board public policy. And ICC cybersecurity review. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda with those items?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It passes unanimously. All right, thank you for that. Okay, action items, none. Moving on. We're so action oriented, we just didn't have any, no. So reports and discussion, so board of directors, let's hear from you about your report. So Lee, do you want to start?
I don't know that I have anything particular to report. I went to the open house and really enjoyed it. It was very well done, very well planned and well attended. And I think people got a lot of tours, which I think were a great idea. And it was, showed a lot of hospitality as well. So thank you for that.
Wonderful. Let's go to Sarah.
Yeah, I don't have anything specific to report, other than I heard great things about the open house. And I've also little bits of stories of people utilizing our services and just giving really positive feedback. So I'll just leave it at that. But that's always wonderful to hear.
Oh, I should add one more thing. Occasionally I run into somebody that's on staff out in the real world, the other world, the bigger world. And they all say things are going.
Great. And how about Julie?
I met with Victor and Brian about the audit. I am also sorry I missed the open house. I was out of town at a wedding, but I'm glad to hear that it was everything that I expected it would be.
Wonderful. And just one thing on my report, which is that I also met with Victor Croft, and we wrapped up our board public policy work. So
We did that.
the session is over. So there's that. And now over to John.
Thank you. First and foremost, happy Mental Health Awareness Month. And so to all of our incredible behavior and mental health practitioners. And it's also AAPI, Asian American Pacific Island Month. So recognition to the multiple identities that live within that diaspora and the contributions they make to our community. Couple things. I was able to participate in the 4th annual Pride Prom this last weekend with for basically an event for 13 to 19-year-olds that identify as queer, and we're able to have an event with Discovery Museum, City Fort Collins, Poudre River Library. Summit Stone is part of that, and it was just a great opportunity for youth to be able to come and be their full selves, and so that was a lot of fun. Also, I attended the board meeting today with the UC Health. We went over the budget proposal, so just some points of note that really the Medicaid reduction, they're looking at a 1.5 to 3% reduced rate, which is about a $3 million hit to revenue here in Northern Colorado for UC Health. The legislative HR 1 impact is estimated to be at about a $7 million hit to revenue. And so those are real implications for the organization and for our community. And they're anticipating, and we know based off of just what we see at the market right now, that there is going to be a minimum about an 8% increase to benefits. So that's going to be something that all organizations are going to have to reckon with. And that's healthcare benefits for employees. And so that's something that they're.
Percent cost.
Percent and cost, yeah.
Correct. So can you say more about that? So that's for the UC Health System. They're expecting an 8%
increase.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's actually pretty low compared to some of the averages that we've seen. Particularly, I mean, some markets are showing a 20% plus increase. So it depends. It might be time this year for us as a health district to actually go to market and shop it and see if we can get a good competitive bid. So that's something that I'm sure will be on your radars, but just a point of note. You know, I think Northern Colorado has done a really good job in creating a lot of opportunities to be able to access health through the UC Health System. And so in PDH, let's see here. Total admissions, it actually declined by about 3.7%. It increased at MCR by 15.4%. But that was also because of Banner. And so also there's a lot of admission transfers from MCR from PDH to MCR, which is going to be ceasing. And so that was because they were opening up a unit and they had to do transfers. And so really the beds are pretty limited here in Northern Colorado. And so it's been really difficult to be able to understand what that looks like. They are looking at about a 3% merit increase. So that's something for us to be considering as well as we go into our budgeting. I've heard a presentation from Ambrosia Biosciences about the impact of GLP-1s. Are you familiar with them? Can you explain what they are?
Well, in short, they help with appetite suppression.
Yeah.
And with,
Like
diabetes.
gut hormone drugs.
Yep.
And so really talked about how obesity is as a chronic disease and how the impact of these drugs are really making a significant difference. And in markets like that have high levels of diabetes, they're making a significant impact. So Northern Colorado, but also within certain identities. So I think that is something to be of note about. And so that was, I
And
think,
the
really
difficulty is getting it covered by Medicaid currently.
right.
Pediatric, it's very difficult to get it covered by Medicaid, but hopefully that will change because they are so effective and they're proving life-changing.
Yeah. So they are looking at patient care growth, and they're anticipating continued growth here in Northern Colorado. So that's a good thing. Increase in surgeries, emergency visits, and bedded patients as well. And they talked about the impact of the new behavioral health unit at Poudre Valley Hospital, and that they are filling some key staffing roles, and they should be able to open that up fully here within the next quarter. So.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you very much. We'll go on over to Donnie for our executive director report.
Yeah, thanks. I will start just again, kind of giving a shout out to our teams and our staff for the employee engagement survey results. I was super pleased to sort of see the trending in the right direction and things moving, and obviously appreciative of our staff leaning in and being responsive with that. And then certainly the work of our leadership team over the last 9 months here or so, really working on some of those things to help move those numbers. So really grateful for that. A few things that I was out and about doing since our last meeting. So I was able to get up to Red Feather for a community outreach event, which actually was kind of connected to a health access survey that we have live in that community right now that we're conducting. That will be open through the end of this month and is really meant to sort of ask Red Feather residents and community challenges and barriers for them to access healthcare services. So we're excited to kind of see that data. I think we've got close to 300 responses so far. So I think we need a little bit more for whatever the data term is to be valid and
The goal is 350?
350. Yeah. So and I know there's some more push happening right there with Mountain Ministries and but I was able to go up to that food pantry event and with our community outreach team and just just kind of interact with some folks and talk about our services, which was great. I attended a Mind Our Future Coalition roundtable session, which was kind of a statewide effort, it sounds like. And really they're looking at strategies and priorities to present to the next governor around youth mental health. So there was, I don't know, there was 8 to 10 community partners there participating in that. So that was good discussion. Let's see, some of the things that I'm working on. So we mentioned the town hall event this Friday for all staff. So I'll be sharing at a high level with staff, kind of the things that I'm prioritizing for the next, through the end of the year, and sharing some updates, and certainly we'll be presenting the employee engagement results back to staff there. So we're excited for.
How long are those?
The town hall.
Mhm.
They're an hour.
No.
Yeah. The open house. So the open house was fantastic. Again, kudos to our team. Anybody that has planned a community event or an open house knows how much work goes into it on the back end and all the logistics. So I think we had sort of all hands on deck and everybody participated, and it went flawlessly. We had lots of engagement. We had a lot of great networking opportunities, not just with good community partners and community members, but I think what we learned is our internal teams got a chance to sort of connect and with folks that they don't usually get to work with. We had some great tours through our building here in dental, and I think the dental team was excited to sort of engage with the community and kind of show people what their work looks like and some of the cool tools and resources that they have. So that was great. And, I think I mentioned earlier, more work to do. We'd love to see more folks come through and learn about us, but I think it was a fantastic event. So yeah, thanks to our team again for putting that on. Thanks for coming, Lee.
It was
It's great to see
pleasure to
you.
be there.
Yeah. I think the last thing I'll end with is a reminder for board members around the Special District Association Conference in September. So we're just taking a poll to see who all is interested in attending that. And if you are, let Jackie know and we'll work on getting folks registered for that. So
Can we remind me the dates?
September 15th through 17th in Keystone.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and Jackie can send that out again. So yeah, that's what I have.
Wonderful. Thank you. All right, so we are ready to adjourn our regular meeting. Do I have a motion to adjourn the May 20th, 2026 Board of Directors meeting?
So moved.
Sorry, President Hottenstein, are we still having the executive session?
Yes.
Okay, so the full meeting adjournment will happen after that because the executive session technically occurs within the meeting itself, if that
Okay.
makes sense.
That makes sense.
I retract my motion.
Yeah. Take it back.
Small technicality, but yeah, after the executive session is when you will adjourn the meeting.
Okay, all right. Sounds good. So should we go into a recess first and then call the executive session, or should we call the executive session and then have our recess?
If it's like a break recess, or people
Yes,
need a
a
break.
break.
Yeah. That's perfect. Yeah.
Okay,
You can do that first and then enter the executive session.
and I don't think we need a motion to go into a recess, am I correct?
You can just note the time on the record and you're
All right.
taking a recess.
Can I just check in? I think there's a different Zoom link I'm supposed to join. Is that right?
Yes, it's actually a Teams link, Julie. So
Oh, Teams, right. I got that from Jackie. Thanks.
Yeah.
Okay,
Great.
when will we resume?
So it looks like we're heading into the recess at 7:45, so
7:50.
7:50.
Sure.
Does that work?
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
all right.
Thank you.
And then did you want me to attend the
executive session?
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Yes, please.
Thank you
Okay.
all so much.
Just wanted to make sure.
Thank you. Thanks.
you.
Thank you.
Bye, sweetie.
We are good.
Okay. The time is now 9:04 PM and the executive session has been concluded. If any person who participated in the executive session believes that any substantial discussion of any matters not included in the motion to go into the executive session occurred during the executive session, or that any
might have left us for.
I know, that's what I was thinking. Maybe we need to go on the Zoom.
Yeah.
Can you?
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we are live on the Teams, or sorry, the Zoom meeting again.
Okay,
They
so
are
we
not-
need Ellie and Julie to be on the Zoom call with us.
Yeah, just let us know when they join. They're gonna
Yeah.
join right now.
Sound good?
In case they have objections, they must be noted right now.
Okay.
And I'll see how tongue tied I get now that we're at 9:05.
You're doing great.
Blah, 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 blah.
That was that,
We just
all
wanted
that
to
radio
practice
talk
more.
that you had practice with.
Yeah.
Alright, so we have Ellie. I believe we're still waiting on Julie.
Okay.
All right, Julie, can you hear us?
I can.
Marvelous. All right, because of some audio and visual technical difficulties, I'm gonna reread this. The time is now 9:06 PM and the executive session has been concluded. If any person who participated in the executive session believes that any substantial discussion of any matters not included in the motion to go into the executive session occurred during the executive session, or that any improper occurred during the executive session in violation of the open meetings law, please state your concerns now for the record. Hearing none, do I have a motion to adjourn the board meeting?
So moved.
So moved. Oh,
I'll second hers.
Okay. So I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Hi.
Any opposed? And that carries unanimously, and our meeting is adjourned at 9:07 PM.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mary.
Thank you all.
Thank you, everybody.
Appreciate it.